everybody. This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for the 6th video in my retro SummerSlam review series, as we are now on SummerSlam 1993. Of course, this took place just about a month before I was born, actually. But yeah, so I watched SummerSlam 1993, and going into it, I was not expecting a great show, because think back to 1993. WrestleMania 9 was bad. Still probably the worst WrestleMania of all time, a lot of people say. It was also around a time where the likes of, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage was on the show, but he wasn't really wrestling much. In the year later, he was going off to WCW. So it was Hogan. And then a lot more talents were starting to come in. Well, Bret Hart was definitely more in the main event status of the title picture. We had, Diesel coming in, Shawn Michaels is still upcoming and whatnot, and several other talents who are definitely, upcoming. So this is around like a big transitional phase for the WWF also, but it was not a good time also because of the steroid scandal. The steroid era, whatever how it was called. And, so it did kind of put the WWF in trouble as they were, starting to, definitely get their rear ends kicked with competition from WCW and ECW, which the mid-1990s, again, just weren't a good time for the WWF at all. And also about this show, it also included a match that had a superstar in there that was pretty much the Roman Reigns of the WWF at the time, and that's Lex Luger, of course. And this show, the match that they had was just exactly a Roman Reigns booking situation. And I'll get to that when we get to that match. But let's get right into it and talk about this. But despite all that, though, I still don't think this was that bad of a show. I still thought it was just a C. I gave it a C. It probably could have been higher because most of the matches on the show weren't that bad. I'll give it that. But the biggest problem was the reason why I gave some of these matches lower grades probably when I was trying to figure out what grade to give this show. It's because there was a lot of countouts and disqualifications. Count and disqualifications. You know me, I'm not a big fan of that on pay-per-views. Like, on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, okay, it's still not that great, but it's more passable then. But really, like, this is, well, at the time, SummerSlam was not as big of a deal as it was today. But it was definitely, one of the few pay-per-views and one of the earliest pay-per-views also as well. But let's get into this and talk about this show and see what you guys think about it. So SummerSlam 1993 took place on August 30th, 1993 at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Auburn Hills, Michigan, which was very close to Detroit. This was also the last SummerSlam for Bobby the Brain Heenan as he went on to WCW, and also it was the last one for Mean Gene Okerlund as well. The first match we had was Razor Ramon taking on the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Razor Ramon had recently just turned face. Of course, Ted DiBiase, was the heel, but of course, I think this was towards the end of DiBiase. I think this may be DiBiase's last SummerSlam, I think, as he was definitely on his way out soon. So this was more just the match, just like an older veteran talent, future Hall of Famer DiBiase, putting over the upcomer Razor Ramon. So it was a decent match, definitely. It wasn't that great, since DiBiase was definitely on his last legs of his career. But it's still he did put over Razor Ramon well, so I'll give him the credit. So this match was a decent opener. Razor Ramon wins by pinfall. The next match, though, was probably match of the night. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, taking on the Heavenly Bodies, Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, with Jim Cornette for the WWF Tag Team Championships. This was definitely a very strong match. It was a fun, we had a couple tag matches on this show, and the tag matches were fun. A lot of fast-paced action. These guys were very well together, being, bigger guys as well. It was just, just fun action, fast-paced, and the hot tags and everything. It all worked out pretty well, I felt. So that's why I think this match was match of the night. The Steiner Brothers going to eventually retain their championships by pinfall and continue on to be champions. So this is probably match of the night. This could have been match of the night, I felt, when watching it. The next match they had, but the whole thing with the DQ and countout finishes began. The next match is for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. It was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, who is the heel champion right now, with Diesel, Kevin Nash, in his corner, since they were good friends, taking on Mr. Perfect. Now, Mr. Perfect, no doubt about it, thrived in his career as a heel. But this time, he was a lot more over. Shawn Michaels was in his element as a heel, so Mr. Perfect was the babyface. And the match they had wasn't bad at all. Like, again, this could have definitely outdone Steiner Brothers and the Heavenly Bodies, I felt, for match of the night, definitely, because it was two, one star who was, more a veteran, and then Shawn Michaels still in the upcoming, years as, a young single star as well. The match, it was like typical, uh, you know, babyface with a heel and his heater in his corner, as Diesel was looking to distract Mr. Perfect whatever he could, at times as well. And then the two of them had good chemistry together, HBK and Mr. Perfect. But then the match ended by countout after Diesel, when the referee wasn't looking, Diesel pushed Mr. Perfect into the ring post, and that's what led to him being counted out. Afterwards, Mr. Perfect got up to go after Diesel, but Diesel just threw a couple punches at him and just pretty much knocked him down again. And they left, and then afterwards, Mr. Perfect was shown to storm back there looking for Diesel, but never saw them go at it again for the rest of the night. So the match was definitely good, but the finish, it's just one of those finishes that's like, oh, this is awesome, and it just completely killed it. Not as bad, though, of course, as the finish to the recent match with AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura at Backlash, though, with the double count because they both kicked each other nuts. I mean, this is at least better, but still, that was just stupid. But yeah, good match. Not the best finish, though. The next match was the 1-2-3 Kid taking on IRS. It was mostly a little bit of not a complete squash match, but the 1-2-3 Kid was a 21-year-old kid at the time, just someone who just gave the crowd a lot of energy and whatnot. IRS, even though I wasn't too big of a fan of his whenever I watched him in the WrestleMania review series, I'll give him credit that I think he has impressed me just a little bit more than I thought in the SummerSlam videos, but this was more so a match just to, have like a young kid, that gave the crowd a lot of energy, do like the, looked like he was going to win, but the IRS snuck the victory pass, and that's what this match pretty much was. But it did, went over, still, give 1-2-3 Kid a good rub as well, definitely. So it was a fun moment as well for this match. But IRS wins by pinfall. 1-2-3 Kid loses. And then we had these next two matches. This part of the show I felt kind of just dragged on a little bit. I was just like, okay, come on. Like, it was kind of reminding me except no. It wasn't that bad. This was average to decent. Like, this whole spew that just happened. But so 1993 also featured the year that the WWF added a fifth pay-per-view, King of the Ring, and he was not in the title scene anymore. Even though there was also rumors that apparently Bret Hart was supposed to face Hulk Hogan at this pay-per-view, and Hogan was supposed to put Hart over, but that Hogan denies that, since Hogan randomly won the championship off Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9 for no reason at all whatsoever, in a 22-second challenge, which was just bad booking altogether. But anyway, so Bret Hart won King of the Ring in 1993. Jerry the King Lawler claimed he was the self-proclaimed king, and of course challenged Bret Hart to a match. Now, we all know that Jerry the King Lawler was not best known for his in-ring ability, but more so the crafty heel he was to definitely get the heat. So at first, we're supposed to have a match between Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler. Before the match, Lawler comes out on crutches, pretty much saying that he can't compete here. So he said, I have someone like Will. So instead, we had a match with Bret Hart taking on Doink the Clown. The match was whatever, but it was more just so an angle just to drag on everything a little bit longer, because the match ended whenever Jerry the King Lawler got into the ring and started attacking Bret Hart with this crutch. And during this time, I think Lawler also did some of the other Hart members, but Owen Hart was actually out of the crowd. I think he did get involved in this match, after the second match that went on with this here also. But Lawler started attacking Hart with his crutch afterwards. And then President Jack Tunney came out, and he said that if Lawler does not get into the ring and fights his match, he will be suspended for a month. So Lawler got in. We had the match. Bret Hart got the revenge eventually on Lawler for everything he's done with his family recently by having him in the sharpshooter. So first, he got Jerry Lawler to submit. However, though, Bret Hart refused to break the hold. I think this did continue on the feud, I think. He refused to break the hold. So because of that, they reversed the decision, and Lawler won by disqualification. He was taken away, on a stretcher or whatnot. And I do believe it continued the feud to a match at Survivor Series later in the year, but I can't remember off the top of my head. This was all right, but again, I just felt it dragged on really long. It kind of reminded me of Lawler's match against Michael Cole at WrestleMania 27, except this was definitely more watchable than, Lawler and Cole. Let's not even go there again. But I just thought it took up too much time. I think it made its point at one point, but it just went on and on and on and on. I mean, the matches were okay. I mean, the one with Doink was just more of an angle. Match with Hart and Lawler was decent. I mean, again, it was storyline purpose with the Hart refusing to break the count, but I don't know. It was all right, but it did kind of drag a little bit in my honest opinion. But that was that. We had a squash match. It was Ludwig Borga taking on Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty wasn't really in the best turns with the WWF at the time, so this was a squash match to put over Borga, so he wins the match. And then I didn't know we had another match between these two, but we did. Remember WrestleMania 9? Undertaker probably had the worst match of his career against that guy in the ugliest bodysuit I have ever seen, Giant Gonzalez, and it ended in a DQ finish for no apparent reason at all. Well, they had a rematch because that match set up to continue the feud to lead to this match. It was a rest in peace match, pretty much the same thing as a no holds barred match. And I'm sorry, with Giant Gonzalez looking as ugly and just unbearable to look at in that bodysuit, and with Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez technically apparently was only 7'5", but he was announced as 8 feet tall, and of course Undertaker was like 6'10". Again, Undertaker still in the early years of his career, not really that impressive of a wrestler yet at the time, but all he kept doing was hitting clothesline after clothesline after clothesline on him. And I think he eventually somehow, I can't remember how, he eventually got Gonzalez up to hit him with the tombstone pile driver for the win at the pinfall. But again, just a boring match for a huge guy who, just no offense, just couldn't pull off an entertaining wrestling match. I mean, when I was giving a grading scale, I'll share these in my description, but I was giving on the grading scales of how I determine how to talk about these matches. For the WrestleMania match was definitely an F, but this is a D- because it actually had a clean finish. Afterwards, Gonzalez got mad at Harvey Whippleman, his manager, and he choke slammed him. But yeah, there's another match that was just so boring. I just hope there's no more Giant Gonzalez after this. I don't think there is, because that bodysuit, my gosh, is so ugly. Yeah, add it to the list, but I'll do it later on. This is not live. But yeah, so Undertaker wins in the rest in peace match. We're moving on with things. We had another pretty good tag match. It was a Smoking Guns, Bart and Billy and Tatanka taking on Bam Bam Bigelow with Luna and the Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu with Afa, who of course Fatu is later on to be Rikishi. Just a fun tag match, I thought, with a lot of newer stars, all of them making their pay-per-view debut, especially Billy Gunn, Bart Gunn, of course, also, and of course the Fatu, which will later on be Rikishi. Just all making their names, and I felt like they all put on a pretty good show for a pretty fun, fast-paced tag match. So definitely that was an enjoyable match to watch. And then we got our main event. This was so weird. Again, going back to what I said earlier, how Lex Luger was pretty much the Roman Reigns of this time in WWE. Hulk Hogan was gone. They're trying to make Lex Luger the next Hulk Hogan, the next big name. And of course, with Vince McMahon on commentary, you could tell just how badly he wanted everybody just to love this guy. And again, this also felt like, what I, of course, didn't get to see since I wasn't there and it was just a live event. But I could definitely see, the Jinder Mahal booking for the India tour through this also, because they had, of course, they had Kyoto Suzuki sing the Japanese national anthem for Yokozuna. Yokozuna wasn't Japanese. He was Samoan, but his character was Japanese, probably because he looked like a sumo wrestler. Um, and Then they had the Macho Man Randy Savage as master of ceremonies for this match, and he introduced Aaron Neville to sing America's national anthem. And apparently, Lex Luger only got this opportunity because he body slammed Yokozuna on the 4th of July, I think it was. So right there on the back, you're thinking, okay, this is so Roman Reigns booking right here. And then the match happened. Yokozuna, the champion, with Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette in his corner, taking on Lex Luger for the WWF Championship. I just don't know what it was. I never really, even go back and watching the WrestleManias, I never was that impressed with Yokozuna. And then at the match, I remember how the match ended. It pretty much was, Yokozuna, going for his whatever, body slam squash thing he would do. And he got out of the ring, and then, I guess Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette tried to, interfere, but Luger knocked them both out. And then Lex Luger won by countout. And then afterwards, they're celebrating. Vince McMahon's like, yeah, Lex Luger beat Yokozuna. Okay, he won the match. And everybody else, all the babyfaces are coming out to celebrate with him. But it's like, he didn't win the championship, though, guys. Yes, Yokozuna, the match was for the championship. I mean, it was supposed to set for another match between them, I think it was, because Vince was like, yes, Lex Luger will get his rematch. But it was more of an angle. It felt like something that would just more so happen on Raw. And the celebration afterwards, Lex Luger celebrated that, he, won the match, but he didn't win the championship. Why are we something? Yeah, confetti coming down, Yokozuna's just sitting there laying on the ground, But why should he be upset? Because he didn't lose the title. It was weird. Again, it definitely, gave me an insight, yeah, definitely see, why Roman Reigns is compared to this guy. Because this booking was just strange. Why did they have to for him have, the national anthems being played? I understand for the character that Vince was trying to, have Lex Luger come across, but of course he went out of his way to make Lex Luger to the next Hulk Hogan. But again, it just didn't work. And the celebrations look cheesy. It just looks stupid. I am just okay, why are we celebrating here? Nothing got accomplished. So yeah, wasn't a fan of the match. Wasn't really a fan of the celebration. But still, overall, SummerSlam 1993 wasn't bad. But again, a lot of these finishes, well, of course, had a terrible match with Giant Gonzalez, The Undertaker, of course, and a couple squash matches. A couple fun tag matches, though. Of course, the match with HBK and Mr. Perfect, again, could have been a little bit better. But again, with the finish, it just kind of lowered it just a little bit, in my opinion. And that main event was just really weird. But I mean, it still overall wasn't a bad show. I mean, I'll give it a C. But I definitely was looking forward to give this a little bit of a higher grade. But yeah, the finishes definitely could have been done much better on this show. So a C for SummerSlam 1993. What are your thoughts on SummerSlam 1993? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure to click my like, get some more content come to the channel, and follow me on Twitter at DemandAir93. This video should be uploaded before my live review of Raw, so I'll make sure that gets up there. And with that, guys, I will see you on later on tonight. So until then, have a great night. Take care. Peace out, everybody.